Hello, everybody. I am Kara Bunde-Dunn, the host of the Energetics Podcast. Today, I am rocking a solo episode. It's going to be a little bit deep, a little bit funny, and of course, hopefully a lot enlightening too. So today, I wanted to hop on and do a solo episode because I had so many things I wanted to talk about with you all, and I love interviewing other intuitives and energetic specialists and mediums, but today I really wanted to spend some time talking to you about a few topics. So I wanted to discuss this idea of a shamanic death. If you follow me on the gram, you probably saw a few posts about this on Instagram. I also want to talk about this idea of a two-way conversation with our guides and loved ones in spirit, and then just some fun tips that can help you to shift your energy and open yourself up to intuitive guidance and conversation with your guides and loved ones in spirit. Okay, so topic 1, shamanic death. You might be going, that sounds a little scary. I don't think I want to do anything with the word death in it. Not sure what you're talking about, but that seems like a bad idea. So a shamanic death really is this idea of shedding old layers, beliefs, and patterns that no longer serve you. So in a way, it is a death. It's a death of an outdated and old version of you, a part of you you're really ready to let go. So I like to think of it like this. You're cleaning out your closet, doing some spring cleaning or fall cleaning. You think, okay, I really need to go through this closet. And in the way back of your closet, there is a stack of clothes that don't fit you, haven't fit you in a real long time, but you keep holding on to them because you think maybe someday they will. I'll put them back on. So it's like they're not there, but they are there. They're in the corners of your closet. And so it's like, okay, if I lose those 10 pounds, then this pair of jeans will fit me. But you haven't worn them in 10 years. And when you look at them, they don't make you feel very good. And they don't make you very happy. And now you pull that freaking pair of jeans out and you're like going through your closet and you're doing your cleaning and you're like, this is freaking ugly. I don't even like these jeans. They're like crazy frosted when that frosted era came back and then we put it back away again. Like I would never freaking wear these now at all. So why am I holding on to them? It's like I can't quite let go of this past version of me so that I can stand in who I am today. So when you go through a shamanic death, it's truly like saying, I am ready to let go of part of me that no longer serves me anymore. And honestly, it can be really uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. For me, when I had Zara, this is 10 years ago when I had her, my feet changed sizes. I don't know if that's happened to any other person on the planet where you have a baby and then all of a sudden your feet like change a half size or even a full size. So it's like putting on those shoes from your, pre-pregnancy single days and you're like, these do not fit. These are the most uncomfortable thing on the planet. But I keep holding on to them and I don't know why. And they're really uncomfortable and I really don't like them. But when I put on shoes that fit me, I feel great. I actually kind of love my life and I go for a walk and I'm real happy. So it's like letting go of old beliefs that are no longer serving you. So for me, I had this belief system, this belief that I have to travel or be away from my family and I have to work a lot of hours in order to have financial abundance. I really believed that because I had a whole lot of evidence to show myself that in my past. But I also had plenty of evidence around me that said that that wasn't true. Plenty of people thriving and having the family life that they want and the financial abundance that they want. Like having the peace and purpose in their life and having what they want in their career. They don't have to be mutually exclusive ideas, but some old part of me was holding on for dear life that was true. So I had a business mastermind that I was at. It's called Business by Design, and there's this mastermind group called The Next Level. So I've joined this program for a year because I knew that it would help me grow and expand and keep learning the life of an entrepreneur. And I knew the corporate world really well, but I didn't know the entrepreneur world really well. So I was happy to have great teachers. And James Wedmore, one of the best coaches and teachers, and his partner Jenny, she's phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. And so a huge part of this mastermind was around old beliefs and old patterns understanding where they come from, understanding where those memories are triggered by. When you think of this belief that you no longer want to believe about yourself, what is the memory that comes up for you when that happens? And so I really had quite a lot of things that came up for me over those 2 or 3 days that we had this mastermind. And what really came over me at the end, after meditations and activations and belief patterning and all sorts of things that we did, I really realized that I wanted to let go of that corporate hustle and grind to achieve my goals. And I had let go of it. I truly had. Like, I don't live in that world anymore. I don't believe in that way of living, but I hadn't necessarily replaced it with the belief that I could really settle into. It's like I did half the work. I let go of the belief, but I didn't replace it with something that was better. And so I had this huge peace that came over me that was like, you know what? If nothing changes, if absolutely nothing changes in my life, I will be completely at peace. If I don't make another dollar in my business, I don't care. Like, do I want to? Of course. Do I want to serve people? 100%. Do I feel called to help people connect with their guides and loved ones in spirit? Absolutely, I do. Like, it is in my DNA. But I let go of this association that I had to achieve a specific outcome for that to be true. And I felt so at peace. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is the magic. You're supposed to live your life exactly this way, in peace, in alignment, in purpose, and that you let go of the outcome and you live in the flow. You live in the alignment. So I was like on fire when I came back. I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels amazing. And I really, really am ready to let go of any small little shadow parts of me that are holding on to this corporate grind mindset. You know, like the pair of jeans in the back of your closet. I was really, really, really ready to let them go. So of course, it was also a full moon. Gotta love that. I'm like, oh, the symbolism. I can't even. So I went outside, and I live in a suburbia, Lincoln, Nebraska, and I looked up at the moon, and it was so beautiful. And I howled at the moon. I literally was like, howl at the moon. And I literally said out loud, I let go of this old way of thinking. It does not serve me, and it isn't real. So I let it go. I absolutely let it go. Then the next day, guess what happened? I felt great for about, 12 hours. And then all of a sudden, I felt sick. And when I mean sick, I mean sick. I tested for COVID. It was all the symptoms of COVID. I was like, oh my gosh, this is for sure COVID. I traveled, all these things, got COVID. Negative, not COVID. Tested negative. Who knows? It could have been a faulty test. However, the test said, nope, you do not have COVID. But it felt like it. And I literally had this overwhelming feeling come over me that I was going through a shamanic death. And again, you might be like, that sounds freaky. That sounds scary. It's okay. It's not. I mean, it can be a little overwhelming, but it's not scary. It's a good thing that you're going through that. So it's like doing shadow work or the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it. But for me, I was like, I'm ready to let this old part of me die. And when we truly, truly decide that, in our soul, deep in our heart, that I am not going to think, believe, or act in this way anymore because it does not serve me and there is no part of me that wants any part of it anymore. And sometimes what happens is you get sick or you go through patterns of mourning. So anything that's a coping mechanism for you in terms of when you're really sad or mourning a death or mourning a loss in some way, you might go into those human patterns. And the way I like to think about it is it's like our soul and our body are not quite in sync. Our soul said, okay, I'm ready to let it go. But our physical body's like still holding on to it or has to release it and let it go. And sometimes in that releasing, you go through some kind of cruddy stuff. So for me, I was sick for 6 days. But for you, you may just be like, I got to curl up in a ball and grab my comfort blanket and a cup of tea, and I just need to, separate myself from the world. Or maybe you get really quiet and really reflective and you really start digging into what that might look like for you. Or maybe you choose a super unhealthy coping mechanism like shopping, spending money you don't have, eating food that doesn't bless your body, something that's a little bit unhealthy, drinking a lot, things like that. Or maybe you just cry. You're like, I just have to release and cry this out and let my body let go of this energy that no longer serves me. And it's like your body then catches up with your soul and they sync up. And then when that happens, you're like, boom, I have arrived. I have gone through my shamanic death and I am absolutely ready to live in this new way. So if this is happening to you, I just encourage you to give yourself some grace, to let that thank your past self. Say, okay, I appreciate you. You kept me safe. You protected me. You helped me survive something that was hard. But now that I know better and now that my soul is ready to be better in this way, I'm thank you and I'm releasing it and I'm letting it go. And when you decide to let go of an old pattern that no longer serves you, don't forget the power of replacing it with something better. Something that you believe in your core, something that vibrates at a higher frequency that feels so aligned for you. So for me, it took me 6 days and I was still sick and I was like, maybe I forgot to replace it with something better. Let me think about what that might mean for me. And my peaceful statement or my statement that came after my shamanic death was this: I have a peaceful and purposeful life, and financial abundance is flowing to me with ease. And I just breathed that into existence. And then I felt really complete, like I could really let go of some of that old thinking. So sometimes you got let something die in order to be reborn into what it's meant to be. So if that's you, giving you a little grace and a little encouragement, and I know that you can do it. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is this idea of two-way communication with your guides. I'm really passionate about this, hence the reason I interview a lot of mediums. I don't always interview mediums, but I do interview a lot of them because they're so in alignment with me around this philosophy of how do we stay in connection and in alignment with our guides. So I have this free masterclass that's coming up called Talk to Your Guides, hence the name. It's on September 25th. So if you're listening to this episode within the pace of when I release them, go ahead and sign up for that course. If it's after September 25th, I'll have it on replay. So go grab it on my resources tab of my website and watch it on replay. So this is free and it's really meant to help you tune in to ways that you can shift your energy and your frequency, get into a vibrational alignment with your guides so that you can start having this two-way conversation with them. I don't believe that this is something only available to me or only available to mediums. I think everybody can really learn how to activate this part of themselves and to get into this alignment. So I like to think about like your guides are like a Wi-Fi signal, and maybe it's like red or yellow beeping and you need to like crank up the intensity of your Wi-Fi signal. So it's like there, but maybe it needs a reboot, or maybe you need to like click it up and turn it up so that you can get into that connection. So when I started helping other people and I decided I was going to teach courses and free trainings and different things like that, my team in spirit gave me this incredible framework that made it a little simpler for people to understand how to do this. So I'm not going to say it's easy, but I do believe it can be simple to understand the framework of it. So it's a 3R framework or a 3-step process that can get you into strengthening your connection with your guides and loved ones in spirit. So the first step in that process is called release. And it is this idea of releasing what no longer serves you. We often jump straight to, what are my signs? Is this a sign? What about that? I don't know if I'm getting my signs. I don't know if I'm missing my signs. And you're like, well, you got this crazy monkey mind going and you need to work on releasing first. So I had this one-on-one client. I do one-on-one coaching with leaders as well as salespeople and helping them release blocks. We tune into their team and spirit. Super fun. I love doing it. And I had this one-on-one coaching client that their team in spirit was guiding me to look at her chakras, and her heart chakra was like out to Texas, like way out to Texas. And they asked me to bring her heart back into alignment and teach her how to do this. So she's a business owner, and she was really trying to figure out, how do I get my soulmate clients aligned with me? How do I grow my business? How do I grow in my leadership abilities? And so much of what she does is so heart-centered and so full of love and service. It's almost like she was giving her heart away to people in order to be of service to them, and not realizing that she also has to align it back into herself and stay in her personal power in order to be her best self and the best leader she can be, the best salesperson she can be. And so they said, you got to release this idea that I have to love you enough to do the work for you. And of course, that does not work. We can't change people. We can only encourage them and love them and support them, but we can't change them. People have to do their own work. So she really had to release this idea that I have enough love and care for you, even if you don't have love and care for yourself. And so it was really about like bringing that heart back into balance so that she could feel more aligned in her business. So I thought that was kind of a fun little story about this idea. Sometimes releasing is like not always what we think it's going to be. And so she had to release that belief that she had enough heart for the both of them in a way. And there's something kind of similar. So that was a professional story. But I also had a client that went through a brutal breakup, like brutal. And she was so broken, so sad, like so in her feelings about it. Her heart was really, really hurting. And she said, I feel like I lost myself trying to support this person. And her guides and loved ones in spirit were very much helping her see that in order for you to be in the energy of love, the kind of love that you want, you have to be willing to give that to yourself. You've got to let go of this idea that I can love someone else enough that they will eventually love me back. Like, that just doesn't work. And so she really had to release and let this go. And her team in spirit definitely was guiding her to say, let go of that. And if you are in the energy of loving yourself and showing up as your best self, you will attract somebody that's in that same energy. And we sometimes do this, not always as women, but especially as women. We think we can change someone. We can love them enough that they can be, what that we can help them become what we want them to be. And it really doesn't work like that. So if you're going through a challenging relationship, I encourage you to focus on yourself, focus on becoming your very best self. And maybe you're modeling to them what you want them to do, which is fantastic. And maybe they'll do it and maybe they won't. But be the energetic vibration of what you want to receive in this life. So if you believe you deserve real, deep love and you're not getting it, love yourself more. Love yourself more, and that can come back to you. So both of these instances were clients that had to release a way of thinking and focus on bringing themselves back into balance and loving themselves a little bit more. So one was a business client and one was a personal client who was just needing advice on their personal life or some, assistance in their personal life. So it's just a good reminder that this can happen to us personally. It can also happen to us professionally. Okay, the next R in that framework is something called raise. So once you're releasing things that no longer serve you, you have space for something better, which is super cool. And one of the best ways that you can do this is to raise your vibrational frequency. I have some cool tips on my resources tab. That's like 10 of the fastest ways to release energy that no longer serves you or raise your vibrational energy to a frequency match of your guides and loved ones. So I had this client I did a reading for, and both her mom and her dad came through. She had lost both of her parents. They both came through in the reading. And her mom said, I'm going to send you daisies, like wildflower daisies. And she said, for me, heaven feels like walking through a field of daisies. And and wildflowers, like being in wildflowers. And my client literally had a look of shock on her face. She goes, "Oh my God, Kara, I have to show you this." And right to the side of her computer screen, she pulled this giant vase of white daisies in a vase that said "Mom" with a heart. I'm like, you can't make this shit up. Like, this was just insane. And I said, well, when you want to feel closer to your mom, she's going to send you daisies. And also, when you see daisies in the wild, I'll be shocked if you don't think of your mom as a sign. And your mom is encouraging you to get outside. So you work in an office, get outside, get into nature, and really be in the energy of nature. It's one of the coolest ways you can raise your vibrational frequency. So her dad, of course, is in the reading too. And he had actually come in first. And he said, "I'm showing you trees and a leaf, like an oval-shaped leaf in particular." And one of the signs he was going to send her was a leaf. And so I thought that was so cute and so beautiful. And it's really just this idea that if you want to get in vibrational alignment with your guides and loved ones in spirit, you want to feel close to them and you currently don't, get out of your house, get out of your apartment, get out of your dwelling, wherever you live, and go outside. If you can, sit in the grass. If you happen to live by a body of water, hallelujah, I'm a little jelly. But go walk, put your feet in the sand, put your feet in the grass. If you live by the ocean, go let the salt of the ocean cleanse your feet, and you will feel closer to them. You will shift your vibrational energy and your frequency, and get outside. It's one of the fastest things that you can do to raise your vibes. So do it. I promise you'll feel better. There's a bunch more. We could talk about this for 100 years, but I want to at least just use that one as an example. So if you're somebody that's like, I just want to lay in bed and I'm tired and I'm just over it and I just want to like binge watch Netflix. For example, maybe like Love is Blind UK. Not that I did that when I was sick, but I may have binge watched the whole season. So that's okay. Don't worry. It's not like your guides or loved ones are sitting there like, "Oh no, she wasted it. We're done. We give up on her. We're not in it anymore." That's just not true. They are always ready and willing to help us anytime. But you have to ask them to like be put into the game. It's like they're on the bench or they're in the bleachers and they're like, pick me, call on me. We have free will, so they're never going to interfere unless we ask them to. Or maybe it's like your divine path, like they're going to tell you immediately in your head, turn left, turn left, turn left, and you're like, avoid a car accident. Or like Twilight, when Edward is talking to Bella and he is like, go away, that's dangerous. Like, and these boys are about ready to like attack Bella and she gets this like immediate like voice in her head. Sometimes that does happen where they're truly guiding us because of something that might affect our life. But generally speaking, they're there and they're trying to give us little cues and signs to say that they're around, but they're waiting on us. They're waiting on us to say, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. So I want to talk a little bit about that, about what you can do to say, put me in, coach. So the last R in this framework. So we have release, we have raise, and then we have receive. This R of receive is all about receiving intuitive guidance, free-flowing information between you and your guides and your loved ones in spirit. And one of the most powerful things you can do to get into receiving is to set an intention. Actually, on my website, on my resources page, I have a signs and synchronicities tips and tutorial, kind of like a PDF of a whole bunch of amazing information. And one of my favorite set an intention statements is the start of that guide. So it teaches you how to set an intention. So feel free to go and grab that if you want to. But the idea is that you're telling them, I am open and I am ready to receive guidance, and I'm asking you for your help. I want your help. So think of it like you're going through the drive-through. For me, I live in Nebraska. We have this amazing restaurant called Runza. If you missed out, too bad for you. It's great. It's a fast food restaurant. I usually don't order the actual Runza sandwich, but feel free to Google it. It's a pretty wild thing. It's like a ground beef, cabbage, onion mix in a rolled dough and you bake it. Anyway, if you go through the drive-thru, you want to be crystal clear about what you want, and if you aren't, they're probably going to ask you some questions so that you can get a little more clear about what you want. So if you're like, I would like a salad. They're like, what kind of salad? We have this and this and this and this. And you're like, okay, I want this one, but I want with grilled chicken or whatever it is. So it's like tuning in that conversation to be specific about what it is that you want guidance on. It's just like ordering on the menu, that you want to be specific. If you're needing specific guidance, be specific in your ask. Not just like, show me a sign that you're there. And then you're like, okay, great. This happens to my clients all the time. So they get a sign and they're like, now I don't know what it means, Kara. Does it mean I'm supposed to do it or not do it? Am I supposed to go left or right? I don't know. I got the sign, but I forgot to ask like what the sign meant. So now I feel like they're around me, but I still don't have a freaking clue what to do. You're like, well, be more specific. Be more specific. So you can say, if I'm supposed to take this new job, I want you to show me a leprechaun or a rainbow or whatever it is. And you're like, if I'm not supposed to, and it's not for my highest and best good, show me a daisy. Show me a daisy in a way where I cannot miss it. You can ask them for things that way. Like if it's a left, give me this sign. If it's a right, give me that sign. But always, always anchor it in for my highest and best good and the highest and best good of all. So it's not just your highest good, but also just everyone else. You don't want something that's amazing for you and terrible for all the people around you, because that may also not feel great. You may have gotten what you wanted, but not at the cost that you got it at. So be specific in that way and set that intention. And how I like to think about it is prayer is our way of making the ask. So you're praying, you're surrendering, you're being in that energy, and you're asking for intuitive guidance. And meditation is a great way to get still and get quiet and get into silence and receive the intuitive guidance. So one of the ways that you can do this is create a space for yourself. So make time to meditate or journal or get into nature or go for a walk where you're not listening to music or podcast and you're just allowing that guidance to flow to you. Or just simply be still. Like some people can't. You're like, I cannot sit still. And that's okay. If you can't sit still, then go for a walk in nature. Get outside in some way, shape, or form if you can. Or take a salt bath and then just allow yourself to be with whatever comes to you in terms of an intuitive hit. So be still and be quiet and be in a space where you're willing to listen to the guidance. So if you're like, I need help on this, and then you're constantly in your own mind going, no, I don't know. I'm so scared. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. Like your guides can't get a word in edgewise. It's like you're on autopilot talking and they're trying so hard to talk back to you, but you're not pausing ever to listen. It's like when you have a conversation with somebody and you're like, I haven't asked a question. They haven't asked me a question. I'm just sitting here listening to them talk forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That could very well be you. So wait and let a little bit of information flow back your way. And if you can't get still or quiet in some way, shape, or form, it's like your team and spirit is so clearly telling you the information and the signs and the intuitive hits. But it's like you're at a concert and it's so loud that you can't hear it. You're like, what? What are you saying? So make sure that you're in a space where you can quiet your mind, quiet the energy around you, and receive that intuitive guidance. So I also think sometimes the signs don't always make sense at first either. So this happens to me in readings all the time. Like literally all the time, where something comes through and they're like, nope. And then 5 or 10 minutes later, we get another piece of information and it comes full circle and you're like, oh my gosh, I know what they mean now. I got it. So you won't always know what your sign means, but if you felt something, you felt an intuitive hit, just go, okay, I got it. I don't know what it means yet, but I trust that I will know what it means when I'm supposed to. So here's an example of a reading that I did recently. So I had a reading where they immediately flashed the names James Dean. And I was like, I don't know. It's like your mom keeps saying James Dean. And she's like, okay, I don't get it. I don't know. And so I couldn't quite figure it out. And then but it was clear. Like they kept repeating the sign over and over and over again, which tells me I'm getting the right information. I just don't know what it means for the person yet. And so then finally the client goes, oh my God, I think I know what it means. My mom used to say that my dad looked like a young James Dean when he was young. Like they looked identical. And immediately I saw a nodding head, like a yes nodding head, like, yes, finally you got it. And then once that clicked and made sense, the mom showed me that when she passed away, her husband greeted her on the other side, and he looked like he looked like he was 20. Like that was his vibe of when he felt the happiest and most joyful. And then she saw this impression of him like a young James Dean at age 20. And so I thought, oh my gosh, this finally makes sense. I love it. It clicked. It makes sense. We've got it. So if you get a sign and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what it means. Like, okay, I clearly got a sign. I know I did because I felt the intuitive hit, but I don't know what it means. Give yourself a little grace and ask your guides to help you. And maybe it'll take a day or a week or however long, but you'll learn. You'll figure out what it means and then you'll know. So just to recap all the things we talked about in this episode, if you're going through a shamanic death, it's okay. It's a way for you to rebirth into a more aligned, a more energetically aligned version of yourself. So give yourself some grace, release that energy that no longer serves you, whatever's holding you back, just let go of it and understand you may have to mourn a little bit when you do it. And then, of course, I always want to encourage you to find your own way through this process of talking to your guides, connecting with your loved ones in spirit. I don't believe that this is something only for mediums. I believe that this is absolutely available to anyone. So I really encourage you to find your way in that process. And if you feel like you need a little help and you feel aligned to me, then maybe I'm somebody that can mentor you in some way, shape, or form. I wished that I had more mentors than I had. That would have meant a lot to me to have that, but I don't feel like I had that many mentors. I figured it out myself a lot of books, did my own readings, all those kinds of things. So if this is you and you feel like, okay, maybe I could get into that, I want you to know that I have a free masterclass coming up called Talking to Your Guides. So hop into that. I also have my signature course coming up that starts in October. So if you're listening to this podcast in real time, go check it out. I only teach this course 1 or 2 times a year. So it's an 8-week course, tons of live coaching, Q&A coaching time, live training. Go check that out too on my resources page. So I hope that you learned something from this episode. You feel a little bit connected and continue on your journey to release what no longer serves you, raise your vibrational frequency, and receive that intuitive guidance. Until next time, my friends, talk to you soon.